Welcome back to Keep Up channel. Tube strikes unleash pure carnage on London. Commuter fury as drivers on up to £72,000 a year walk out and pay row, shutting the underground and bringing the capital to a standstill. London commuters are today facing pure carnage as striking tube drivers on £72,000 a year brought the capital to a standstill as they demand higher wages, a 4-day weekend discounts on train journeys. Members of the Rail, Maritime and Transport (RMT) union have begun their 5-day strike, leaving commuters facing days of travel mayhem with little or no service on all of the tube as different parts of the union walk out on different days. Hard-pressed Brits faced scenes of chaos this morning as the London Underground network was paralysed. Bus drivers turned away passengers and motorists and cyclists faced crippling lane closures. The Elizabeth Line and the Overground, the only two lines running as normal, have been completely overwhelmed, with queues forming out of the station exits. Images throughout London this morning show closed-off entrances to stations and mammoth queues at bus stops as millions of British workers look to fight tooth and nail to make their way into the city. The strike has been exacerbated by lane closures, with commuters stuck in gridlocks through parts of central London including on roads around King's Cross Street Pancras, where the RMT's official picket line is. Some furious commuters have reported eye-watering 3-hour journeys on bus routes to travel less than miles from North London to Kensington. Many were also unable to order Ubers or faced increased fares, while hire bikes were snapped up in seconds. Adding to the misery and confusion, TfL's website crashed due to the high demand of commuters searching for alternative routes. As hardworking Londoners were unable to get across the capital, Labour's Liverpool Riverside MP Kim Johnson said she stood in solidarity with the RMT, adding, "No worker should be put at risk by fatigue and extreme shift rotations, power in a union, always." But Downing Street today hit out at the mayhem the strikes have brought to the capital. The Prime Minister's official spokesman said, "Londoners will rightly be fed up with the disruption from tube strikes this morning as parents try to drop their kids off at school, get to hospital appointments, get to work." RMT and TfL need to get back around the table and work together to resolve this dispute in the interests of passengers. No 10 also warned about the economic hit being suffered by firms. The spokesman added, "Businesses who rely on the tube for work and footfall will be fed up with these strikes." But Downing Street pushed back at suggestions Labour's reforms to workers' rights would make similar strikes more likely. "We've always said in introducing our reforms we want to, unlike the previous government, have a more constructive relationship with unions," Sir Keir Starmer's spokesman said. "And also a more secure workforce is good for the economy, is good for productivity." Striking tube workers are demanding a boost to their pay packets despite already being on £72,000 per year, as well as a reduction from a 35-hour working week to a 4-day, 32-hour system. They are also asking for a 75% discount on all rail travel, despite already receiving benefits which entitle their loved ones to free travel across the entire London public transport system. It is believed any moves to meet the RMT's demands would cost around £200 million, and that is before the huge discount on rail travel is even considered. TfL, who have since tabled a 3.4% pay rise offer to the union's members, said reducing working hours would be simply unaffordable, adding today that they were bitterly disappointed with the RMT's decision. Some commuters who have managed to get on the minimal amount of tubes running have told of the moment they were trapped inside a station which was shut when they tried to leave. TfL has been forced to apologise to passengers at Debden, on the Central Line, after the barriers to leave the station were inaccessible and no staff were working. They say this was due to the station opening later than usual and that passengers could exit after around 10 minutes when staff arrived. Critics have called Sadiq Khan's role into question, pondering why there has been no sign or sound from the Mayor of London as British workers face disarray. Many fumed that London has been held to ransom. Keith Prince, City Hall Conservatives' transport spokesman, said, "Where is Sadiq Khan? While millions of Londoners suffer through transport chaos, our mayor has gone missing in action. He can find time to comment on arms fares and international issues, but when it comes to the transport strikes bringing misery to his own city, Khan is nowhere to be seen. This is a complete abdication of duty." The mayor's deafening silence while London grinds to a halt shows he has completely lost control of the situation. If Khan can't even be bothered to speak up during the worst transport crisis in years, what exactly is he doing as mayor? Londoners deserve leadership, not empty silence from City Hall. Khan's refusal to engage publicly with this crisis, despite his willingness to grandstand on other issues, shows his priorities are completely wrong. He should be leading from the front, not hiding away while the city he's supposed to serve grinds to a halt. The strikes were launched yesterday with a limited service still operating, but today's full-scale walkout is the first time the underground network has been entirely closed since March 2023. TfL said it was bitterly disappointed that the RMT has gone ahead with their action despite our fair, affordable pay offer. They added, "We have been clear that their demand for a reduction in the working week is unaffordable and impractical, and we urge them to put our offer to their members." The transport body added that they will ensure our website and real-time travel tools are updated to assist the public in their journeys, but thousands reported that TfL's site dramatically crashed this morning. While it appears to be operating now, social media users lambasted the receipt of a message which read, "Sorry for the inconvenience. We're working hard to return our website to normal." Commuters had hoped a similar version would be deployed to that of last January, when Mr. Khan used £30 million of Greater London Authority funds to stop tube workers from striking. But with no solution in sight and a week of disruption ahead, many Britons have taken to social media to tell of their fury as they called the Mayor of London's role into question. One posted to X this morning that they had forgotten all about the tube strikes, adding, "Pure carnage on the roads until Friday." Another wrote, "Another bloody tube strike in London, TfL absolute nightmare." A third added, "No sign or sound from Mayor Khan about this tube strike. Absent from the airwaves as always when there's trouble." Conservative MP for Bexley and Sidcup, Louis French, said the mayor was missing in action in a post on X. He wrote, "Millions of Londoners will be impacted by this week's strike action. Labour's union paymasters want more pay for less work for tube drivers already earning £65,000 plus. It's the Labour way and Sadiq Khan is missing in action yet again, despite promising zero strikes." A spokesperson for the Mayor of London said, "Nobody wants to see strike action or disruption for Londoners. Strikes have a serious impact on London's businesses and commuters." The mayor continues to urge the RMT and TfL to get around the table to resolve this matter and get the network reopened. But the walkout has been defended by Trades Union Congress boss Paul Nowak. The union's general secretary told Times Radio, "I think it is reasonable for them to exercise their democratic right to take strike action. I think there's a whole set of issues in that dispute, including work intensification and problems and issues about people working overtime because of a shortage of staff." He added, "I think it's really important that TfL and the employers sit around the table with the RMT and reach a fair settlement that satisfies their staff and also gets the tubes running again." Mr. Nowak conceded that while people will find tube strikes frustrating but added, "At the end of the day, people lose pay when they take industrial action. But no, I'm not going to castigate people, whether they earn £72,000 a year or not. And not everybody is on that level of salary. But this is a job where health and safety is critical, where people work really difficult shifts in difficult working conditions. I think they're right to be able to take their concerns to their employer and support them absolutely being able to do that." An RMT spokesperson said they are not going on strike to disrupt small businesses or the public. They added, "This strike is going ahead because of the intransigent approach of TfL management and their refusal to even consider a small reduction in the working week in order to help reduce fatigue and the ill health effects of long-term shift work on our members. We believe a shorter working week is fair and affordable, particularly when you consider TfL has a surplus of £166 million last year and a £10 billion annual operating budget." Muniya Barua, deputy chief executive at Business LDN, said the strikes would hit small businesses dramatically as she urged both the RMT and TfL to come to an urgent agreement. She said, "This is hugely frustrating for Londoners that rely on the tube to get around the city. It will hit firms that rely on footfall especially hard, particularly those in hospitality, retail and the cultural sector. At a time when the economy is weak and firms are already reeling from a national insurance hike, the economic cost of these strikes could run into hundreds of millions of pounds. It also sends a really poor message to visitors and investors. We urge both sides to reach an agreement urgently and put an end to these damaging strikes. The effects of the strikes have already hit the economy, with Coldplay and Post Malone rescheduling their planned gigs at Wembley and the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Coldplay said in a statement, "We're sorry to announce that, due to planned industrial action on the London Underground, we've been forced to reschedule our final 2 concerts of the current Wembley Stadium run. Without a tube service, it's impossible to get 82,000 people to the concert and home again safely, and therefore no event license can be granted for the nights of 7th and September 8th. It has been estimated that the total cost to the economy over the coming week could reach hundreds of millions." Michael Kill, CEO of the Nighttime Industries Association, said, "Since 2022, rail and tube strikes have cost the UK's nighttime economy billions in lost revenue, with forecasts indicating a further £150 million could be lost during this week's strike period alone. This devastating projection comes at a point when the sector is relying heavily on consistent week-to-week trade to stay afloat. As underground stations across the city lie desolate, workers will pack onto buses, the Elizabeth Line, the London Overground and trams, with roads also expected to be far busier than usual." Travel expert Nikki Kelvin, editor-at-large at The Points Guy, told the Daily Mail, "For those commuters who are unable to avoid travelling during the strike days, I strongly advise to explore alternative transport options such as buses or even Lime bikes." Commuters should also factor in potential ripple effects on the London Overground, as connecting stations will likely experience increased pressure. It's a given that all remaining transport modes will face heightened demand, especially through morning and evening rush hours. Mr. Kelvin added that it was important to monitor real-time travel updates as well as on-the-ground reports from social media. Docklands Light Railway, DLR, services, which run through East and Southeast London, will also be stopped entirely on Tuesday and Thursday over a separate dispute. TfL has advised that alternative means of transport look set to be extremely busy as commuters try to find a way into the city. They expect them to be so rammed that some services even face being unable to stop at stations shared with the London Underground. Announcing the strikes last month, RMT General Secretary Eddie Dempsey said workers were not after a king's ransom. He said, "Our members are doing a fantastic job to keep our capital moving and work strenuous shift patterns to make sure Londoners get to their destinations around the clock. They are not after a king's ransom, but fatigue and extreme shift rotations are serious issues impacting on our members' health and well-being, all of which have not been adequately addressed for years by LU management. Coupled with the fact there are outstanding issues around staff travel arrangements, an atmosphere of distrust has been created, where our members feel like no one is listening to them." RMT will continue to engage LU management with a view to seeking a revised offer in order to reach a negotiated settlement. Commuters in the capital face yet further misery when the London Underground returns to full service, with bus strikes on the horizon immediately after. If planned action go ahead, services operated by First Bus will strike in West, North West and South West London from 5 a.m. on Friday, September 12th, to Monday, September 15th. Should the tube network not be operating again by this time, workers face an almighty task to make it into the heart of the city from those regions. Source: dailymail.co.uk. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.